I will. Okay, I will just record right now. It either way is good. Now, so officially we are kicking off the 2022 Traveling Show First Edition. That's happening right now, 3 p.m. on June 5th. And we are very delighted to have all 6 great readers. We start with Abby Caplin. And then everybody, so I will be sending in the chat space Abby's bio. Abby, take it away.
Okay, so good to see everyone, and thank you, Anne, for hosting and organizing. And I'm very happy to share with you. I finally got my book published. It's called A Doctor Only Pretends. So I'll be reading a few of the poems from there and a couple of other ones. So the first one, can you hear me all right?
If you can increase your volume a little bit, that would be great, right?
Can you hear me now? It's the same?
Yeah, can also people who are not speaking mute themselves so that we don't have background noise? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now. It's a little better. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one is called Fable for my mentor who passed away last year, Martha Lou. In her small apartment, my mentor held up my thoughts like a bartender cleaning the stemware. Is it clearer now? You have only this chalice of cut glass, this breeze, this hammering neighbor shouting into a cell phone, that soft animal on the bed. Before the light shifts. As I sat on her couch, a young Tom pressed his whiskers to my leg, and a sangha of flies circled in the vortex between us as if in crazed meditation. I thought of the moth that left a smidge of brown on my wrinkled bedsheet, the rainforest butterfly framed in a friend's hallway, and I wondered what stirred them. Beyond her open window, we watched a vessel of cloud transmute to porcelain, and I slipped into a quiet broth of being, which lingered even as I started my car and cruised onto the Bay Bridge, up and across a blue sapphire table. The second poem is called County Hospital Residents, and I used to teach primary care internal medicine medical residents, doctors, a few years ago at in Oakland. County Hospital Residents. Immigrant doctors training again in a residency program far from home, tripping over English on morning rounds. Tell me how you became a doctor. I grew up in Egypt, Vietnam, India, Japan, Mexico, Argentina, China, Peru, Indonesia, Kenya. My father died. My sister died. My mother died. My brother died. I couldn't help. Tell me how you became. I was 10 when I got my first pair of shoes. We washed our clothes in the river. I left my mother's village deep in the mountains. Tell me how. I was a medical student, stationed in the jungle when a mother banged on my door with her seizing baby. We drove 3 hours. He died 30 minutes before we got to the hospital. Tell me. I was a cardiologist. My husband hit me. I got away. And now she bends over her patient, looks for bruises. Now he writes orders in the chart, prays they'll be carried out. Now she touches gently Mr. Taylor's cold hand, who lived alone upstairs in his wheelchair in the poorest part of town. Thanks. And there's a little, this one's called Rush Hour. Kind of probably something you've experienced. I'm underneath the freeway, waiting to make a U-turn, waiting for the green light, and there's a homeless guy a few cars back with a cardboard sign that says, "God bless you, I need food." I weigh the risk of searching through the car for my purse for a couple of dollars that I'm sure I don't have, because I just went to the bank and got 5 20s, and I'm not going to give him a 20. I think you should give him a 20. Then the light turns green and the 3 cars behind me get pissed off that I have not yet stepped on the gas. I make my U-turn and keep going. No money exchanged in the karmic Seychelles Islands of driving safety. And I promise to restore the balance, make a donation somewhere without risk of contact with virus or steak knife piercing my palm as I hold out some dollar bills if I had them. And one more from the book is called Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is the Chinese goddess of compassion. You probably see the statues around. Kuan Yin. A doctor only pretends to understand the soul's transmissions through the stethoscope, the placement of bell and drum on bare chest, simple human breath commingling with clicks of worry, raspings of self-reproach, the unpredictable beat of chronic confusion. The details don't matter when loneliness is undone. And the siren I hear through the window reminds me of that normal day when illness held me upside down by my feet and slapped my behind until bright pennies of pain emptied me. Misery comes cheap, and to survive, you must study those bangs of false belief about who you are that blind your third eye. Make your hard pilgrimage from the realm of nightmare into the space of a quiet room, bird calls and dogs barking in the distance. Everyone who lives long enough slips into the pit, even my neighbor, who screwed up his face when I said Crohn's disease, later stroked out. And he did not merit my story, how I awoke from my dying to another existence, where water and sand cradled my feet. The gulls cried to give comfort, and I sang the sea's Om. Thank you. And doing okay on time here?
Yeah, we are good. Thank you, Abby. It's very interesting. The last poem, it stays with me, Guan Yin, and then your heart in pilgrimage. It's very interesting. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's quintessential. It's in the sense, but it's interesting connection that you brought in. Thank you for your reading. And then our next reader will be Susanne West. Susanne, take it away.
Okay. Beautiful work, Abby. Thank you. Okay, so these first poems are relatively new, I'd say the last 6 or 7 months, and then I'll read a few from my book that came out last year. This first one is called Dark Welcome. Can you hear me okay? Loud enough? Okay. Dark Welcome. Don't rush me to the light. I need to soak in my tears in the mothering darkness. This one doesn't have a title yet. This sacred dark is shaping us into vessels vast and deep, so that we may hold and soft stitch the gashes in our world. Portal, I wrote this one just about a week ago. If when you encounter a space between your projects, between your problems, a gap in the conversation, a whole being quiet when you awaken at 3 a.m. in the silent house, do not rush, be not afraid, release before and what's to come, avoid naming. The you in the deep who knows peers into the possible. A juncture, the portal is here, will reveal itself again and again like this in the most ordinary of times. Be the awestruck child when just rain is a miracle. Enter, 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 fully, fully be taken. Telling your daughter, this one came about just in recent days when I was reflecting on parents needing to tell their children about the shooting. And then as I reflected on it, it just became bigger than that, but that being very important. Telling your daughter, let the difficult words rise from your heart, glide along your tongue, float in the air for some moments. Gather tears if they will, land softly, and wherever, however they land, you remain quiet, open, nested in your heart and hers. Brings a few tears. This next one is called Surrender. The sea told me to give her my pain. Trust took my hand when I couldn't take hers. I gripped and cried. Together, we poured generations of grief into the open heart of the mother waves until we were empty, unburdened, lighter, brighter. Trust and I bowed to the unbounded devotion of being, vowed to serve her. If only the mourners knew, said Mother Ocean. And now I'll read a few from my book. It's not easy for me to do self-promotion, but I will hold up my book. It's called Subterranean Light. It's my first collection and was published last year. I did it. Okay, this first one is called How to Find Poems. Uh-oh, I need the reading glasses. How to find poems. Consider everything a vast invitation. Open wide to the unseen. Look with mountain eyes. Cease worshiping ordinary time. Relax your grip. Forget about safe routes. Crawl into dark holes and wet tunnels. Let yourself be scared. Get lost. Be found. Let your lineage of ache teach you and find its way to the page. Let your lineage of wisdom teach you and find its way to the page. Don't believe the urgency. Walk, pause often, see with your feet, celebrate what is thriving on this planet. Praise, praise. Listen to the pen. Forget who you thought it belonged to. Fall off the page. Place yourself on the precipice of humanity. Write what you wish you hadn't seen. Let storms reconfigure you. Write the before and after. Risk expressing what's hidden inside the folds of your life. Invite words to bleed and breathe onto the page. Let's see how the time is. Yeah. Being will have its way. The tumor's malignant, Mom, my daughter tells me. I'm thrust awake, a shattering of my old world, a knowing this is the next fire, a knowing this changes everything again, a knowing you will be a howling tantrum, you will be dignity itself. You will let the kids rub your bald head. You will bejewel yourself with scarves. You will be tired. You will be sick. You will feel helpless and you will surrender. A knowing the soft light that glows through you no matter what will uplift us all. A knowing being will have its way. Thank you.
Very great read, Susanne. It's so touching. Thank you for your voice. Great reading as well. It's so timely reading. Thank you. Thank you to read here. And then generations of grief enter fully and be taken. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Susanne, again. And then our next reader is Mary Jane Pramik. Mary Jane, take it over.
Okay, thank you, Anne, for doing this, and thank everybody for being here. I really appreciate getting a chance to read. My first poem is called Petrichor. Earthly scent, colored brown, vapor as the rain falls. A throbbing in my brain, wasp nests vibrate toward oblivion. Geese V across the dark sky, desire to join them abandoned. As rain melts into dusk, stuck in a deciding moment, exit feeling, why? Adjacent once again, then separated, thrumming of the wasp nest, first rain after dry weather, to feel something. I have a longer poem called Immortal Soul. I wake and I'm one person, and when I go to sleep, I know for certain I'm someone else. Bob Dylan, Newsweek. Birds, animals, all flora and fauna. Earth fast becoming an island. I step out of the shadow into the clearing. I won't live long, they say. A multitude of waves break over the sand, holding the ocean like a prayer. The now, earth, home, and heaven at the same time. Friend Mary asked me once, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Rather than heed Christ and Longfellow, both now dead, I set out on a boat sail from Morro Bay. I played with whales, humpback, blue, right, gray, all order of cetacean, toothed, baleen, pygmy, belugas, narwhal, sperm, dwarf, and beaked, diving over limestone waterways. our clockwork cosmos. Oh, amygdala, you harbor the soul. Scientists have measured a field encircling the human head, like a crown of thorns, a field radiating life energies to inspire new thoughts, new frames of thoughts. Saffron, lavender, and a combination of in between. William James may have said this once, summer at the seashore is a fine endeavor. Fledgling blue herons try their wings high in a stand of eucalyptus. Time to make strawberry jam, blackberry jelly later in the season, chocolate roses, vanilla hydrangeas, Anthurium gloriosa, hibiscus plumeria, cantua, crinkling lavender lupin. Jesters laughed and inventors invented gizmos to cover volcanoes. How much calculus does a nudibranch need to know? I sailed by on my blue bicycle, Specialized. Ancient generals hitchhiked on the side of the road. Alongside the spring peeper, chiming aside their boots in the grass, frogs, voices clear. Rotavirus, retrovirus, supreme corona, the crown virus, poor despairing psyche, Circe waiting to be summoned, blood orange moon climbing the sky. How many leaves and petals have passed through my eyes? My soul rested on the side of the road with the old generals, watching the cavorting flocks of hummingbirds, metabolic rate to undo us all, blur, blur, then at night, a temporary torpor, violet-tailed silk resting on a weedy branch, generating wind tunnels for us to glide through. Juncos drunk on grape hyacinth and baked apricots. A grand wind rushes under all creatures. Before moving on, a black hole shreds a sun. Transubstantiation not necessary for my immortal soul to enjoy the driftless clouds. Existence, a jigsaw puzzle of weather to wade through. Rain, then hail, then monsoon, then desert, then heat collapse, then I walk through the mirror of each day. Contiguous life, death, living existence in a bright wind divine and dexterous. Each second a fragment of ethereal time. O immortal soul. And changing tone here a bit. Breaking news. Children ripped from mama's poppies. How the caged birds cry to earless guards. Amid lies paid for by tax dollars. Another day, another mass shooting. Enemies of the people bleed out, rifled down by angry saviors. 5 white men sit in judgment, empty robes, white gray hair, applaud shredding the fabric of us. No half-staff or riffraff truth tellers. Call me by their name. Corporations war on unions, wolves not only at the door, nipping at bare heels through broken windows, friends not buying enough weapons for war. They have 1 billion bullets. We have gender neutral restrooms. A cup lifted to the world. What did the prophetess say? Lie to women with fake health clinics. Those 5 white judges again lying under oath and on top of it. Through any oath promise only, death to the planet hilarious. Temple curtain rends yet again. How does the sun still rise each day? And then my final one is called Obad, just written this past week. And it's an Obad is a song to the morning. I sat in the dark on Bolinas Road, waiting for the Tau Hercules meteor shower, waiting for the black, black sky to descend to wrap me in the anonymity of night, waiting for the stars to push through the taut sky, shade the surrounding hillsides of dense pale grasses, like the after crunching lava surrounding eastern environs. I waited for the meteor shower to wash away the grieving grief gripping our mouths, hearts, and centers. Falling stars won't decimate the horrible horror of why should this world still allow any beauty when our familias have suffered such loss, camouflaging our bones in lint shells, waitressing griefs, served to all on platters of platitudes we know, out of overcrowded solitude that renders our lasting emptiness. They're gone, the children. Yesterday, I watched the new moon sky over the city, sighted the Big Dipper looking north into the darkness, a direction I never look. The fallen children, parents tripped over them yet again like dead leaves. I wasn't there in the classroom, in the school, warmth and humidity rising, a door propped open, book bags, backpacks, desks, chairs, pencils, a paper clip rested on the floor near Jackie's desk. Would I have had the courage, the abandon, the fortitude to charge the active shooter, or would I have limped away, cowering? Or would I have aimed my heart at the trigger finger, not looking the owner of that finger in the eye, but aiming my body at his chest, his heart, his head? We don't know what he looked like, but we will someday. Some journalist looking for an NYT bestseller will go after the heartrending details of a sick soul, bullied already, we hear, unloved. I live a reticulate life on this earth. I remember walking the central street of Singapore on a mission to shop for my grandchildren's holiday gifts. My steps were focused and determined. I passed a father, red-faced, angry. He slapped the oldest girl across the face. She, about 6 years, looked stunned, stricken, sad. Then he slapped the younger child, about 4, for good measure. I walked past, stunned, stricken, confused as to what I had just witnessed. I swung around, ready to slug that 6-foot male who dared hit these children. But they were gone, blended into the crowd, Christmas decorations, carols playing in the air. That time I was too slow to stop the active hitter, male and tall and angry. Silent Night and Joy to the World played loud, ominous. Last one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Wow, it's such timely read again, and it's very critical, tastefully done. Proud of you. How does the sun still rise each day? It just echoes with me. Beautiful reading. Thank you, Mary Jane.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, and then let's welcome my dear colleague, another great poet reader, Judy Bertelson. Judy, take it away.
Hi, thank you, Anne. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I personally was rooted in the San Joaquin Valley, but I moved to Berkeley for college and stayed there where I put down additional roots, which all are in these poems. I hope they will resonate with you. The first one appeared after one of the violent events this country has experienced. It was a bombing, but our current pain feels similar to me. And this is called Hardware Store Cathedral. A week after the Boston Marathon bombings, the hardware store man knew on the phone what I needed to hook up the new hammock to the old stand. Which aisle? Who will help? Joseph, I'll be here. And he was. Measured and cut chain, located S-hooks, clamps. Ordinary looking man, competent, plain. I know this store. Rows of shelved useful things, nothing fancy. No one trying to sell you something you don't need. If you ask about garden hose washers or toilet flap units, they walk you over to the stuff. The checkout woman, not a self-service computer, does her job quickly. No rush. Okay, this one is called How to Work a Puzzle. A big puzzle I think we're all working on. You can get started with an edge, even if you don't know which end is up. Group by definition and color. Blurry browns and greens here, whites with sharp gray lines to the left, light blues, mauves over there. Watch for rare bits of red, a peculiar curve, odd group of knobs, points, hollows. Suddenly, a piece sometimes 2 or even 3 or 4 you've stared at for a long time, absent-mindedly half seen, falls into place, almost on its own. The rest look unrelated, but you know from experience more will come together for you or someone else. Sometimes it helps to stand and see the whole sweep. Sometimes your fingers take a piece and place it without checking, as if behind the eyes grasps a whole you couldn't think about, but which just seems bestowed. It helps to stop trying. Give it a rest. There's a space I can't figure out. I really think a piece may be lost. But in the end, nothing is missing. In 2018, I went to Hanford, California for 6 weekends and stayed with my best friend from when I was 5 years old and worked hard on the campaign for their congressional representative in CD 21. This is a little prose poem about that, and it's called Back to the Valley. When the vote went our way, weeks after Election Day, I found myself telling a friend it was like finding a Mickey Mouse camera in my Christmas stocking. Why did I say that? The holiday remained a disappointment in my mind. Mickey's camera had shown through the thin paper bag Mama carried while we were shopping in Fresno. Not that I believed in Santa Claus, but how could I pretend if she carried the camera I had hinted I wanted in a bag you could see through? I got my wish with the election. Not fantasy or magic, a bright and cheery real surprise. All that hard, slow work back in the valley, knocking on doors to get out the vote in CD 21. Our opponent declared the winner on election night. Weeks more work following up with voters told their signatures didn't match. Getting their votes counted. Watching the margins slowly change and finally flip. A surprise, stunning Mickey Mouse camera in the bottom of my nearly empty stocking. Okay, here's one called It's Right There. Mind wants to fix, you name it, a light-furred llama or a leaky sauna. No matter that in seconds the locus of the focus changes. Something else beckons. A sock needs darning. A rock ridge too tall casts a shadow farther than you want, makes the stripe you need to nix, poke, thin to a thread. While the perfect leaf with the perfect bug bite falls from the perfect oak. Okay. Galway Kinnell wrote a famous poem, short little poem, in which he said, "Whatever is what I want." And I always had a hard time believing this. So this is called What I Want, meditation on Galway Kinnell's prayer. Whatever is not necessarily what I want to want. Give me equanimity. Equanimity in the midst of what is. When Daddy was dying and Mama went to the hospital to tell him because his doctor and his minister wouldn't, he looked up as she entered his room and said, "Well, we've had a good time, haven't we, Harriet?" Okay, this is the beginning of a series called Life's Affordable Pleasures. So far, there are 3. The first and third are from walks in Berkeley, and the second is definitely indoors. Life's Affordable Pleasures. 1. Deep purple iris, daffodils, lilies, seen from the sidewalk in other people's yards. Sycamores with ochre, olive, gray, jigsaw puzzle bark. Bees in lobelia, hummer at red sage, luxury of loving yellow oxalis, long stems curving up from lush leaf masses, no wish to curb their glorious fecundity, no vicious fight with snails. Okay, 2. Slight pressure sensed deep inside, then slow rolling forth, leisurely transit, final little flourish of release. No need to rush, no line waiting, no outhouse stench. 3. Sidewalk lines cracked and patched, like a Mondrian. Small blue gin bottle, better than a Duchamp. Raucous caw of a big black crow. Woodpecker snare drum solo. Almost silent Prius. The mind of John Cage. And this last poem, Here and Now. It's not that you wouldn't want to change things if you could. It's that you're missing your actual life, your body just as it is, not as it was, or as you intend it to become, or as you wish it to be, pulled by the earth, feet, butt, arms, jaw, settled as you sit. All your parts and functions, pulses, ringing in your ears, eye floaters, itches that seem to come from nowhere. Thank you.
Judy, it's beautiful. It's so fun to have such a refreshing voice of yours. You know, it's always a pleasure to hear your read. I love it. It's direct, daring, and it's generous and humorous. Thank you for being part of this reading group. Love it. Great. Great read. Also, I'm going to be the next reader, so I'm going to introduce myself. On the chat space, you can see my bio, and then I will be reading here. And I'm so glad I'm following you. So this from Judy's read. Okay, here we go. Couple of short films. Seeing Primeval Landscape by Mark Rocco, 1945. Before the summer storms, paint Adam, paint gobble. Deserts are topping out. Bones and worms are next. Earth will rain, blind and whoosh, without a face or book. And the dirts chant till midnight. Through the winds are drying hot. Soon, light weaves into light as lights the torch. Red, the synthesis allows the world in bare forms. Swiftly, the strikes would leave down the permeating horizon. With violet, fruits from the heart and its wildest dreams. Before summer ignites, by the sweet, short ecstasy, grab souls, only for you, becomes the world after bone marrow. The search after happiness. The serenity of old and silent films, juxtapositions of imageries dominating exercise by rehearsing acts, rejoining, cuddling, body language, reducing faces in the limelight, are worlds liminal. Dragonfly passing dark under marshes, are fluttering wings of fleeing white doves, swiftly marching for life, as bright light shines through under sunbeams, elevating mystery spaces, crowded miracles everywhere, wide in a wondrous cityscape. Demilgic. The rising Kashmir tower, the synthetic riverbanks, the fortune of seeing, the beauty of not knowing. the home full of imagination, the places to withdraw what's undone, the beatific, angelic smiles, the films of normalcy, the monologue of love, the inundation of the stars, the swift irony of the seniority, lovers who shower under a fantasy stream, the fork catching the bones. Lonesome is closer by. Spring, after my mother, 72. Spring passing, sweet embraced, hums voided, soprano endangered, fire and human naivete, flora risen, letter nightingale, living journey, shadow de-loved, metal worth, monetary value, bed sheets soaked, knives in, enormous appearance. As Black Death leaves, you lived the life of a hawk in the windmills of heaven, lounge in before summer's purple morning, cry out lemons, rabbit food mood, when you put down your summer intent, 2 souls, short lives expand. You stand and make salmon oil, fresh from grocery papers. You are topping the moon when an old sun warmth, space divide as Black Death leaves. Bijou, 72. Life without you is like the excessive, tasteless cry of an elderly in dementia, in time unsurpassed, if only the alarming certainty of its reality. The hard, fast-turning nightmare of all. Life without you is like a forced arrival to rainwater and the diaspora city, from a tiny or 4-colored blooming rainbow, amid the chaos of a few black-tied men, and like some beheld upon the moon at midnight, when the stormy dawn comes, or its lightning of power and thirst unveils the truth, water-drifting souls that linger lightly in the tip of one's heart. 2 more. Okay, we are good on time. Okay, after facing Joan Mirau's The Smile of the Flamboyant Wings, 1953, on my mother's would-be 74th birthday. On a milky December night, it's already late, less swiftly, and what a chance to seize an earthly life in a short day, which lasted forever. I feel like the wind swaying against my judgment. My soul has become the wings up in the air like a kite only she could reach. When she doesn't, sunshine, what will become of my world? Across the wetland, before the low tide, I would chase the wondrously flown kites to the ground without bargains. There, in spring, the grasshoppers like to weep. She's taken our stories away. They freed her so recklessly. Mine, of kindred discourses, it feels renewed to have loneliness, which charmed grander than a body that gives such a fine space. A scenery in colors. Won't it be thinkable to separate you from your zodiac predictions? May you be simply rising forward into your red golden ensembles, and a seabed somewhat close by, somehow beheld by a red golden horizon. May I be simply loving the whole of you. Is there a space now where we can understand each other better, or the emotions of our drifting away be overcome once for all? I daydream myself, lying facing your resembling face, and watching a red golden painted horizon. And you lighten up without me, filling my dreams, traveling through wherever is hilly and overcast by shadows. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening, tuning in my reading. I love this. It's mainly for my mom who passed right after her 72nd birthday, at the blink of the start of the pandemic. So it was quite some tough time that I had to endure. Thank you very much for all your tuning in. And I love this reading group. And we still have our last reader, Simona Carini. Simona, take it
Thank you.
away.
You know, it's like I have not just one difficult act to follow, I have 5. So it's like, okay. Thank you. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks to everybody for being here. Thanks to all the readers. That was fantastic. The variety is incredible. Okay. First, so I have a few. We'll see how much the time. First one, Little Cayman Island. The plane descended, touched down, heat, humidity, and a promise of peace on the 10-mile strip of sand, ponds, and palms. I walked into a familiar room. Later, I cycled on the circular road where crabs crawl across and iguanas have the right of way. I strolled on the narrow breeze-cooled beach, tuned my ears to the ripples brushing the shore. Fragmented conch shells, white sea urchin tests, fragile domes, exoskeletons of spiny lobster, brain coral, purple sea fans, an empty bottle that floated from Jamaica. Waves planed a spiral shell to reveal the columella, the axis at its center. Currents carried a polished brown sea heart seed, and a worn white toothbrush dropped from a boat. On the warm sand, I gathered hard truths. I filled the shell with the paint left behind to be cleansed or washed away by the tide. The rustling of a hermit crab over dried leaves startled me as I walked back to the room. Inside me, the silence into which each storm hushes. Staying on the sea theme, yellowtail damselfish. What does an underwater creature know about the night sky, the stars in it? Intense blue studded with diamonds. A small fish flashes, sliver of night sky cut from the galaxy's heart. Juvenile yellowtail damselfish, half the size of its name on the page. A chance mutation chose Nye blue. The next one aimed for the stars. An easy catch for predators until one reduced its stars to dots as it grew up and reproduced. A yellowtail for defense. Beauty had to become transient. A malevolent law, cosmic balance, live God out of this. Nature handles her own. Jewel damsel patrols its coral territory with the fervor of a newborn star. Tiny fish in improbable regalia blazes through muted surroundings, tangoing with my eyes. Green eyes, 10 deft fingers, 4-chambered heart, double circulation I have, yet not that blue, those stars. On the golden circle, Iceland. Geyser Strokkur hurls water at the sky. The spout collapses, sprays around. A pause, again. Hot water explodes at each beat of Earth's boiling heart. Up the road, Gullfoss, the Vita River falls, then falls again. We stand a step away from cancer's lurch. The rains will fail and death approach and pound like water the rock floor. Until that day, I need no geyser nor cascade, but crave lava fields softened by ancient moss that grows at coral's speed. Icelandic horse and I trotting on Viking trails, all breeze and drizzle. I smell wet earth, horses sweat, taste nostalgia for a place not yet left, and ache for someone not yet lost. I grew up in Italy, in central Italy, and St. Francis of Assisi is a presence in my life. So this is a poem to a place where St. Francis was. Ermo delle Carceri, Hermitage of St. Francis on Mount Subasio, Assisi. The small saint made himself smaller through a narrow space to enter. On one side, he lay down after chanting Caplin, the night prayer, slept on bare rock with a stone pillow. His faith as solid as the cave's walls. There was a small chapel, but mostly just home oaks, under whose evergreen shade he paced, prayed, preached. When I, a petite girl, walked along the Eremos paths, St. Francis spoke to me in the voice of leafy branches rustling, of birds flittering. He touched me in the light raining from the stately trees. No longer a girl and far away now, severed from ancient places where psalms echo, where St. Francis left footprints, kind words to a wolf, humans, flocks of birds. When I need to see my life's bedrock, I walk into a forest's shade, shut my eyes, enter his cave. This poem is connected to recent event, even though I actually wrote it before the pandemic. Apparently, war is unfortunately always somehow current event. Walking along 156th Avenue Northeast in a city that is not at war. I escaped from an air-conditioned office, from processed cold air into the June daylight, demanding sunglasses and granting warmth. I took off my jacket and scarf, slipped out of my leather boots, clasped them in my right hand, stepped onto the runner of grass mowed to thick carpet height along the sidewalk. The blade tips massaged my soles, sore after 10 hours in leather. I inhaled warm air, sauntered to my destination. Luck did not place me in Syria, Yemen, or Iraq. The buildings were intact, the house's roof, the grass alive. When I raised my eyes, I saw a cloudless summer sky, not airplanes pregnant with bombs. I indulged in the walk for me and all those denied. So I had an accident during the pandemic and I ended up in the emergency room. Fractured phalanx of the left fifth finger. A stream of human frailties flows outside my room. A man fell from his wheelchair, bruised his face. A senior's heart beat out of rhythm like a clumsy dancer. A woman felt weak while walking, low blood glucose or loneliness. The surgeon arrives, a whirlwind of sky blue scrubs. He smiles, touches my hand, I'm no pain, tells me he'll pin the broken bone. As if by the tap of a wand, the room fills with nurses to ready me for surgery. I fall into an inky sleep until my eyes open onto a large clock, a later time. A left hand I explore by touch, padded splint around the little and ring fingers, elastic bandage from fingertips to wrist, 3 fingers free to wiggle like tentacles of a sea star, self-imaged, cracked like the small bone, a new manus to learn to use for a month of awkward touch. At home, I cannot hold an onion steady under the sharp blade. The splint on its own presses the caps lock key while I type, and suddenly my words scream on a screen. If I close my eyes, I fall again, and the outcome is the same. A fragile bone snaps on impact. Inside the splint, I imagine the 2 bone ends making peace, one again. But like in my mended bone china cup, the seam will be visible every time I drink tea. I'll finish with a short one. Rock and light. I run among trees, the Pacific rumbling behind morning fog, the trail strewn with leaves and small branches washed down by storms, past vacant campsites, picnic tables coated with moss, empty benches, no one watching the waves, a towering rock sparkling igneous diamonds. Time deposits layers on it, erodes them. The park is mine. Greens, browns, and grays at the horizon. Refined by quick breathing, I emerge mother of pearl. As I turn, the sunlight lancing through Sitka spruce forms a fan of rays. As a child, I thought it was God. I still do. Thank you.
So beautiful, Simona.
Thank you.
It feels like you have taken us to all your adventures, like the petit fille, you know, in the cave. It's beautiful. Well, we are around the clock, right, at 4 p.m. This is most beautiful of being a traveling show manager, because we have such a gorgeous group of readers and poets with wonderful body of work. Your work actually enrich the whole Marin Poetry Center. And then I guess, you know, in this very timely world, we need a lot of voices. Like you said, Simona, we have all diverse voices of our own, which are very unique, but at the same time, a representation of what's happening in the world right now at this moment. And then thank you for bringing such a beautiful heart in and work in this session. And then we just love to tune in more. The next session, as housekeeping, is going to be on the Father's Day on June 19th. And then I will be the hostess. And then hopefully you can join us all again, okay, to tune in more of the Traveling Show 2nd edition. And then we will be, you know, sending out the Zoom links very soon to everybody. And it will be posted on our website under the Traveling Show session. You will be able to see, you know, read and then tune in more with us. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks everybody. Bye.
Have a
Thank you.
great
everybody.
start of the summer.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, all
Bye-bye.
the readers. I really
Thank you.
appreciate every one of you, your time, and then the audience. We can't do
Yeah,
it without
thanks to
you
the
all.
audience. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
All right. Just need to